you ready?
I think it should just cut straight into conversation.
Hi folks, I'm Rosie, and this is Amy. We're here talking, you're watching.
We've collaborated together before.
Yeah. Yes! Oh, I see.
But that's all been online.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's been like really professional and like planned.
Yeah. And this isn't.
That's not where I was going with that.
Oh.
But this is like, we actually get to hang out.
It's been so good. Yeah, so we met on Tuesday, so we had Tuesday, Wednesday, this is Thursday, I'm leaving on Friday. So kind of 2 days, 2 halves.
Yeah.
And we've spent every single hour together.
And haven't killed each other.
Yeah.
Which is...
I think there's been a surprising amount of laughing. A good amount of music making. That's the only things. And I guess we had to eat meals.
Yeah. It feels like there's been a lot of eating. So if you're wondering what it takes to write an EP...
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Laughing.
So, yeah.
Writing.
Eating.
Playing.
We've spoken about the fact that we felt like we knew each other already, even though we hadn't actually met. And I think that part of the reason why I felt confident to make some music with you is because I knew that I already liked you as a person. Like, do you think that's essential to music making?
Oh, I think so, definitely. I think I definitely jam better with people that I vibe with, for want of a better word, for people that are open. I think people who have those kind of open personalities that I can actually get into and connect with.
And it's the same things, isn't it? It's the same skills that you need for jamming as you need for like a fun conversation. You need to listen. You need to not be so worried about what you're going to say that you're not actually hearing. And then you need to have some kind of the same sense of humour or timing or whatever.
Yeah, and a sense of trust as well, a sense of comfort in the space that you're in. Like, if you have that kind of mutual understanding with each other and a level of comfort with each other that you can just mess around. Like, if you're able to mess around with somebody outside of music, then that gives you the good foundation to be able to mess around with them inside music and treat it as just fun and silliness and joy, and then there's no pressure.
And yet, we set ourselves such a pressured task.
We did.
Like, we were like, oh yeah, 5 songs, 4 days. Of course we could do that.
Easy.
I mean, we're here on Thursday night, haven't even written one of the songs, and we're congratulating ourselves that we've done
We've
it.
written and recorded 4 songs in 2 days, essentially.
Yeah. And I think it's because we sort of were like very head down about it. But you're right, the space to try things out, and also to be like, this is a good idea, like, let's develop it, and then also sometimes be like, actually it's not. And that's okay too, right?
Yeah. I think that's why I've really enjoyed creating and composing with you, is that a lot of the time I find myself in spaces with people that are like me, in the jam space, if you like, people that have created and just jammed for a really long time. Like, you've spent time composing, you've spent time being in that more regimented almost.
Yeah, I think I've come from a world which is actually quite difficult to come out of, where composer and performer are incredibly separate. I've got a classical background, I played orchestral, I still do a lot of orchestral playing, and in that, one person writes it, and then the performer is just kind of like the vessel of the music, so you're trained to be really a technician. Getting out of that and getting into the headspace of, oh, I'm allowed to have ideas and try things, and people come and see you play because you bring your Amy spirit to it.
Right.
Getting into that and like being allowed and feeling able to come up with my own ideas, it does lead to a really different way of working, which has been fun to collaborate.
Yeah, see, and I have the complete opposite, like, approach, in that I've always been really creative, but not necessarily been so... I haven't ever been very precious about the way that I perform what I've created, because it is all just... It's always creation, even in the performance for me. And so to be able to bounce off each other in that way, and I'm like, oh no, it's fine, it's just creative, let's keep going, and you're like, okay, but let's make sure that it's good.
Let's do the same thing 17 times until we hate it.
And then I'm like, oh right, it has to be good.
Which I think is a testament to the joy in finding like a middle ground of working.
Exactly, and I think that's what we found in having that kind of yin and yang between the two of us.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed that.
I think it's something that some of my students are often surprised about. I like give this like really friendly, joyful energy, which is so true and real. but I'm like, genuinely, do it 50 times, take a break, come back and do the same thing again. And that's a way of growing, like, especially sort of chops and kind of timing and certain things. There's a real, like, for hours, I would sit by myself in a room with some drumsticks, just play. Right hand, left hand. I don't enjoy that, like, real kind of mechanical way of playing. I wouldn't enforce that on anyone. But there's a kind of, we spoke about this as well, the word discipline is not like a joyful word for a lot of reasons, but there's something in that.
There's something to it, yeah. I think having the self-discipline or routine or practice is a really good way of putting it, rather than like practice as in practicing something to get better at something, but practice as in the practice of waking up in the morning and playing the drum.
Yeah, or the practice of stretching and warming up before you play.
Right.
Making sure your posture is right. Yeah, that's such a good way of putting it. Like, what is your practice? What do you need to have in place before you play or before you perform? Like, I find some people asking, maybe this is something to talk about separately, but things around nerves, things around stage confidence. And one of the things for me is often I'll do like a little karate routine, something that's really centering, really like moving myself. When I do these gigs, big gigs, whatever they are, you realise you're going to go on stage and have thousands of people looking at you, and just having some rituals and some routines and some practice is really, really useful, like essential.
Yeah, and practicing in itself is almost like a ritual. Like if you create a ritual out of that, it can actually be really quite nourishing and meditative, and like it doesn't have to be like a boring drill. It can be like, this is what I do in my day. You know, I spend some time, you know, taking this time for myself to better myself or whatever it is, or to just feel good.
Well, I think there's something in the difference, isn't there, of bringing some, it's a shame it's the same word, bringing some kind of regimented discipline practice in, and then balancing that always with some free playing.
Yeah.
Using some of those techniques that you've been working on, but just letting it kind of, it's almost like you tense and then you like release and you like let it flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are things, there's things that have come out from this week where I'm like, I wish I had the chops to do this, or I wish I had the technical ability to do that. And I know the time to work on that isn't in the moment in the jam, it's to note it, and to come back to it and do it. And that's something I think in jamming, one of my teachers spoke about this idea of instant forgiveness, which I think is so useful. When you're playing and performing to people, or you're doing the gig, you have to forgive yourself instantly. Something goes wrong, just sweep it away. Just come back to it. Like, note it in your mind, but you can't like tense up and go like, oh, I've made a mistake, everything's terrible. And I think that in however big that cycle is, whether it's a gig or whether it's, you know, our recording session, there are things that I know, technical skills, foundations that I need to work on like specific things. And that's like a really good way to discover that, right? Because you're like, oh, in practice I wanted to do this and I couldn't do it. So you're like, oh, I need to go and that's like a new goal for me there. Yeah. Which is fun.
Especially in a space like this, when working with somebody that you feel so safe with.
To talk about the difficulties.
Yeah, and to be honest.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how to do that. Can you show me how to do that?
Yeah.
You do so well.
I wanted to do it and it didn't work. It's annoying when it's at the end of a really good take.
That's true. But it's okay. And one other way that I really like to think about it is, you know, you make those mistakes, but they are mistakes. You make, just don't 2 ways about it. But you make those mistakes and you own it, and you be like, yeah, cool, that's what happened. And if it's like a live situation, then you treat that as, if you're, it's easier if you're solo performing and you can allow that to lead you in a new direction and be creative with it, or repeat it or whatever, and let that be what it is and kind of lean into it more. But to just kind of own what just happened and be like, yeah, what of it? You know, and just keep going and and have pure joy in that.
I think joy is such a good word. We just did a live stream, and one of the comments someone said was, it's so nice to see both of your faces finding so much joy in playing together. I'm like, honestly, we were laughing because I messed up. Like,
anytime you see one of us smile, even if, like, regardless of each other, like, even just in life in general, it's probably because we've gone wrong, right?
Or because it was so good. you're when it's really good, Amy's like,
I do, I make noises.
like,
and so I have to be really careful when we're recording, when it goes really well, to not make noises, because I get really excited. I go, oh, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, but we all have our tricks of the trade for recording. Okay, so if this is a really important tip.
Okay.
If your mate is recording and you're just about to come in, but you're not playing yet, you have to sit with your hands like this and your eyes shut, really intensely listening so you don't accidentally move and make a noise, and you're ready to play.
And then the mate, that's me,
has to not look.
to not look at what they're doing.
Or they'll burst out laughing. You should literally make an EP of outtakes. Genuinely.
But it works.
And what's so nice as well is, so when we have done like multiple takes or whatever, the end of every one is just us bursting out laughing.
It is. That's true.
And then we listen back to it and then we laugh again with like fake ass laughing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there is one of those, the end of one of those songs that I did have to, the handpan hadn't finished ringing and we're already laughing.
Oh no! So embarrassing.
I had to like fade it out.
Amateur.
But you know, I think that is probably
fun.
more important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's fun, like, you know, well, we haven't finished tomorrow yet, so, you know,
It's all
TBC, but we've had
It's all
fun
good.
so far.
Yeah, there's only one day left.
Yeah, I think if we've made it this far.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Is any of this usable? We're just chatting.
I've got a hat on, that's really impolite, isn't it?
That's so rude.
Are you taller than me?
Yeah, I'm way taller than you.
I look really small.
Do you want a cushion? Also, I'm not way taller than you, that's a lie.
No, maybe.
You do look really small. Should we swap sides?
Why do I look so spin? Swap sides?
No, it's not straight.
Is that why?
I don't know.
Is it a trick of the camera?
No, you're just tiny.
Okay, that's fine.
I've always thought there's tiny Amy Naylor.
Tiny Amy.
Tiny
Could be my stage name.
stage name is Amy.